The deposit hits at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. $1,840 after taxes, after the commute, after the week. You open the app before you're fully awake. Check the number. Close it. For a second, you think about the bar your coworkers are already at. Instead, you move $184 to a separate account, 10%. You decided that 3 weeks ago, sitting on the edge of your bed, staring at a credit card statement you'd avoided for 6 days. The number wasn't catastrophic, just embarrassing. Somehow that was worse. The transfer takes 4 seconds. You don't feel anything. That's the part nobody warns you about. You expect a signal, some small click of something falling into place. But the $184 sits in the other account, and you sit in your apartment, and the night continues exactly as it was. You tell yourself this is the beginning. You don't know yet what you're beginning. Your total savings, $184. Your rule, simple. Your understanding of what you just entered, zero. 6 months in, the account holds $1,247. You check it differently now, not with anxiety, with something quieter, more territorial. You've started reading, not courses, not gurus, just the actual mechanics, high-yield savings accounts, index funds, why inflation is a clock running against anyone who leaves money sitting still. You read slowly. You take notes in a paper notebook. The people around you are still spending the same way. Dinners, upgrades, weekend trips that look better in photos than they feel in person. You don't judge them, but you notice you've stopped trying to explain yourself. This is the first rule. The system rewards silence, not secrecy. Silence. There's a difference. Secrecy hides something shameful. Silence protects something real. You open a brokerage account with $900 of the $1,247. You buy 3 shares of a broad market index fund. You don't check the price for 2 weeks. When you do, it's down 1.4%. You don't sell. You don't feel the urge to sell. That surprises you. The people who panic bought with money they couldn't afford to leave alone. Your money is already gone, as far as your lifestyle is concerned. The 10% leaves on payday. The number you plan around is the 90%. You feel the edge of something. Not wealth, not progress exactly, traction. The account crosses $5,000 on a Tuesday afternoon. You don't celebrate. That's how you know something has changed. A year ago, $5,000 felt abstract, a number other people had. Now it's a position, a starting point for the next calculation. You've stopped thinking about what you have. You think about what it's doing. Contributions are automatic. You don't negotiate with yourself on hard months. The 10% goes. Everything else adjusts. This isn't discipline anymore. It's architecture. At work, you've started noticing things differently. The senior manager who drives the same car he drove 7 years ago. The woman in accounting who owns her condo outright. The colleague who earns $30,000 more than you and always splits the check wrong. You file it. All of it. You're learning to read behavioral patterns. Who's building something? Who's consuming everything they earn? Whose 3 missed paychecks from collapse? Most people have no real position. They have income. That's different. Income is a current. Position is land. You have $5,000 of land. You open a second account for individual stocks. Small allocations. You lose $340 on your first position. You examine the loss without drama. Find the error. Adjust. $340 is tuition. Cheap tuition, actually. $18,000 in the brokerage. $4,200 in cash reserves. A Roth IRA maxed for the year. You are not rich, but you are structured. Most people have a posture, vague intentions, a number they'd like to hit someday, a comfort with not looking too closely. You have a plan, written, reviewed quarterly, adjusted on data, not feeling. The 10% rule has compounded into something else, because discipline in one area bleeds into every other. You sleep better. You negotiate differently. You've interviewed twice this year, not because you needed to leave, but because you wanted to know your market value. Both times you got offers. One got you a 14% raise where you were. One moved you somewhere better. The old version of you would have stayed quiet, grateful just to be employed. This version understands leverage. Net worth $23,000. No consumer debt, no car payment, no card balance. The asset column is clean. That's rarer than the number suggests. Most people your age are running a negative real position. Liabilities outpacing assets, even if they've never done the math. You've done the math many times. A new colleague joins, early 20s, smart, clearly, but spending every dollar of his starting salary on a lifestyle. You remember being him, not in specifics, in structure. The feeling that looking solvent is the same as being solvent. It isn't. The brokerage crosses $50,000. You check it like the weather, quickly, practically. 5 years have passed since that first $184 transfer. Markets moved both ways. You sat through a 22% drawdown without selling a single position. Watched the value drop nearly $9,000 in 6 weeks. Then it leveled. Then it recovered. Then it surpassed where it had been. Most people sold during the drop. You know this because you watched it happen. You held. You bought more on the way down. 50,000 moves differently than 5,000. In a good month, gains from the existing position. You watch this happen, and you understand compounding, not as a concept, but as a physical reality. You have become someone the system rewards, not because you're exceptional, because you understood the rules and followed them when following them was uncomfortable. That's the actual threshold. Your inner circle is smaller now. This wasn't a conscious decision. People who stayed in the same position drifted toward others doing the same. You drifted toward people building. The overlap between your old social world and your current one is thin. You don't mourn it. You notice it. $140,000 across 3 accounts. A rental property netting $620 a month. A stock portfolio that hasn't needed your attention in 6 months. You no longer work for a paycheck the way you once did. This is subtle. And it changes everything. When you're dependent on income, you perform. Slightly. Constantly. You manage perception because perception controls your access to resources. Most professionals operate from this position their entire careers without ever naming it. You've named it and dismantled it. Your income still matters, but it's one of 4 streams. You take a leadership role, more responsibility, higher comp, not because you need it, because it's interesting, and it accelerates the position. You buy a second property, a small multi-unit, conventional loan, 25% down. You hire a property manager. You learn that passive income is not actually passive. Every level requires skills you didn't know you were missing. The money is teaching you operations, the difference between a problem money can solve and a problem money makes worse. Salary, $94,000, $2,400 per month, and growing. Net worth, approaching $310,000. You don't look like it. That's deliberate. Somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000, the game changes again. You stop thinking about accumulation. You start thinking about architecture. You earn, save, invest. Architecture is different. It's designing systems that run independently of your attention. That compound, not just financially, but structurally. Current position. When the economy contracted last year and colleagues were anxious about layoffs, you felt something different. Not calm, steadiness. The recognition that the worst realistic scenario was manageable. You had built for it. People start asking for advice, not close friends. That gap became awkward years ago. Colleagues of colleagues. Someone's brother who finally got serious. You help when you can. You explain systems, not outcomes. Outcomes vary. Systems replicate. The cost at this level is not time, it's attention. Your mind is always somewhere inside the architecture. You sit at dinner with people you love, and you are mostly present. Mostly. The identity you had at 23, the one who almost didn't make the first transfer, is not retrievable. You know it was real. You can't locate it inside the person you are now. The system didn't take it by force. You gave it willingly, 1/10 at a time. You are sitting in a room you own, not mortgaged, owned. Final payment made 14 months ago. Net worth $1.2 million. You say that number to yourself sometimes, not with pride, as a data point, to verify it's real, slowly, without announcement, through the same motion, repeated an unreasonable number of times. You don't need to work. You continue to work. This confused you for a while. You'd told yourself the goal was freedom, and it was. But freedom isn't the absence of structure. You work because it's interesting, because you're good at it, because stopping entirely would require building a different identity from scratch. What you have now is the ability to say no. That is the currency at the top, not wealth, not income. The word no, spoken without consequence. You've said it 3 times this year, to a promotion requiring something you weren't willing to give, to an investment with good returns, and a person you'd spent 2 years quietly avoiding. You feel mostly a quietness, not happiness, quietness. What you've lost? Urgency, the ambient pressure that once organized your attention. Some mornings you miss it, not the fear inside it, the clarity. Your first thought every morning is still financial, not anxious, reflexive. A brief accounting of where things stand. It happens before you're fully conscious. The system lives in you now. It doesn't ask permission.